I talked about on this channel before, pretty much during the offseason, about this Lamar Jackson contract situation. Sometimes it was focusing on, should he go for this guaranteed contract? Is that a mistake? But also from the perspective of what exactly are the Baltimore Ravens doing and the mistakes I feel like the Baltimore Ravens have made in this whole contract negotiation. Because again, it's just not this summer. Josh Allen was signed 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and Lamar Jackson is in that same draft class. And I think that's also part of what's going on with this situation, is that it's taken way too long. And that's kind of revealing about certain things going on in Baltimore. But Skip Bayless, who, he's Skip Bayless, let's take it with a grain of salt. But he also does have a credible career as a beat reporter, as a insider. It's only been recently, well, not recently, he's been doing this for like 20 years now. But as far as his career goes, like, he has had like a long chunk of it be as a credible beat reporter and a chunk of it as Skip Bayless. So take it with a grain of salt, but he has a report. Let's listen to it.
Lamar Jackson is not happy that the Baltimore Ravens have refused to pay him the way the Browns paid Deshaun Watson. So this is what I heard from what I consider a credible source inside the Ravens locker room. I don't want to blow this way out of proportion, but I do believe what I've heard is significant. Lamar Jackson is so upset over his contract that he's effectively, quote unquote, holding out without actually holding out. Lamar is no longer as engaged or as responsive during meetings. You might say he's sometimes withdrawn during meetings. That's not at all like the Lamar we used to know and love.
All right, let's talk about this part of it, right? And I think when we do sports discourse, especially about other people's money on this app, on YouTube, on TV, on the internet, Twitter, wherever this discourse happens, a lot of people have the tendency to talk about it as if this is not a negotiation between a team and a human being. And what I mean by that is, when you're trying to get your money from a giant entity, a corporation, that shit is messy. It's messy, right? And it's not always just about the money. Sometimes the money can be a metaphor for how much you respect me, right? And we forget to relate these things to ourselves because they make so much more money than us. But I think it's important that we do that, because then these actions make sense. Lamar's checked out, basically, is what Skip Bayless is saying. He's not as locked in. And I can understand 100% why he's like that. And I think a lot of you at home can understand that too. Because if you don't feel respected at work by your employers, how hard are you working? For real. Are you really going the extra mile when you don't feel like you're appreciated? Are you really going the extra mile when you feel like you should have got a raise 2 years ago and you sitting here still ain't got no damn raise? Are you going the extra mile? I ain't like, and maybe there are a select few of y'all that will go hard no matter what, and congratulations to y'all, but I don't know if that works for your favor monetarily. It is human nature. If you want somebody to perform at their highest level, you have to make them feel respected. Straight up. You cannot belittle people or disrespect people or try to save a dollar here and say, sometimes you're not paying for the numbers or the performance or the stat. You're paying for the respect. to show the respect to the person that you want to carry the team. And now Lamar is sitting here feeling disrespected. Why does he feel disrespected? Dude won the MVP in 2019, and he's playing on a fifth-year option. Now, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Lamar is literally the only guy to be drafted in the first round, obviously, because first round's only one that have fifth-year options. But he's the only quarterback to be on his original team and still be on his fifth-year option since they started doing it in 2011 when Cam came in. Cam Newton, right? Cam Newton was in Auburn when they came out with this whole rookie draft scale, and Lamar is the first dude to be on his original team on a fifth-year option, and he won the MVP. Look at all the other quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round that got an extension with their original team. Look at their resume and what they did in that rookie deal. And then ask yourself how Lamar was not worthy of a contract. Now, again, there's this whole thing of, hey, Lamar is asking for a lot of money. He's asking for the kind of money that you would expect an MVP to ask for, which is, hey, Deshaun got this, I want this. And I get Baltimore don't want to do that. But sometimes you got to make a tough decision, right? Sometimes you got to overpay to keep things in board, right? Is Lamar Jackson worth $250 million? That's hard to say. But is not having Lamar Jackson, is that, like, if the options are have Lamar for $250 million or not have Lamar for $0, I'm picking $250 million. I would rather have Lamar. I would rather overpay for quarterback. And we get into this conversation a lot where people talk about quarterback pay and how you shouldn't overpay for quarterbacks, but don't want to have no quarterback, right? Like that, at the end of the day, you would rather overpay. If people are willing to overpay for Matt Stafford his entire career, I promise you, Lamar Jackson's worth overpaying for. But we get into the minutia of this whole thing of trying to figure out what a quarterback's worth, and we get so fixated on, oh, are we going to overpay the quarterback, that we forget that if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter who you overpay or don't overpay because you don't have a shot. Quarterbacks don't come out frequently and reliably enough that you could just rely on having them on your rookie deal like running backs. You got to have one. You got to have one. If you have no quarterback, you have a team that might get to the second round of the playoffs at best. And who wants that? You get no trophy for that. This is the problem we walk into all the time when it comes to quarterback play. It's the trap that we fall into. Oh, should we pay this dude? Well, if you think the dude is a franchise quarterback, it honestly doesn't matter what you pay him because you're going to be sorry without that guy. Unless you think he's like Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins where he's not good enough to get to that level, okay, you don't pay that guy. But if you feel like this is a dude that's a franchise guy that you can win the Super Bowl with, then you pay that guy. Whatever the market is, you pay that guy. The Ravens are trying to pinch pennies with the quarterback, and that's just not how business is done. And now they made the big mistake. He feels disrespected. And you can tell he feels disrespected because, again, I'm not going to be on time to these meetings. You know what? Why respect their time if they don't respect my time because they're not willing to pay me properly? That's what that is, right? Because if I felt like my time was being respected and I'm getting paid good money, I'm going to be there 5 minutes early. But if I feel like my time is, you don't care about it, you're not paying for it, then you're going to get there when I get there. Well, this meeting going to start when I get there. It is what it is. That's how that works. That's how that works in every job. And I know people are going to be super idealistic in the comment section, act like they never did that. Everybody's done that. If you felt like you wasn't being paid enough, I promise you, you're not going hard at work all like that. We ain't got to lie about it.
Occasionally, Lamar has been a little late for a meeting, a little late for a practice, something he never would have been before. Again, these aren't end of the world developments, but obviously Lamar Jackson is not the all-in, intensely dedicated, just ultra disciplined Lamar that the Ravens had come to know and trust over his first 4 seasons. I do not love the way Lamar is handling this. I cannot endorse it, but I certainly do understand it. And I do have much compassion for Lamar's plight in Baltimore. But I do want to be clear. When it is time to play football, Lamar is playing football 1,000%. I have no doubt about that. I don't think for 1 second I'm not here to even remotely suggest that he's giving less than his best during football games. That's definitely not who he is. But during the week, yeah, I believe he sometimes loses heart for dedicating himself to a team that so far has not returned his commitment.
That's also another part of this. Lamar spent a lot of time putting in a lot of work on the Baltimore Ravens and the organization. And he probably brought into all that stuff that they tell you, right? And I want for everybody to take this back to your first real job, right? If you haven't had a real job, just go back to your first job, right? But remember when you got your first big boy job, or maybe even your just first job, and them first few days, man, you was so excited. You was ready to do whatever you needed to do for whatever company. You know what I mean? You was ready to work late. You was ready to stay 10, 15 minutes afterwards. You was ready to, I'm going to get that. Let me go clean that. Like you had initiative them first 4 or 5 days, because you know what? You feel grateful. You finally got a job. You got hired. And then you start to realize that what they're asking of you and what they are paying you, it just doesn't quite match up. Right? And then one day you say, hey, I think I've been doing a great job. You've been saying I've been doing a great job. These people have been saying I've been doing a great job. I think it's time that we talk about, maybe I can get a raise or a promotion. I feel like I've given a lot to this company. It would be great if this company can give back to me in some way to show some appreciation. And they say, yeah, we'll think about that. We'll think about that. Okay, yeah, and a couple weeks go by and you ain't hear nothing back, and then 3 months go by and you ain't hear nothing back, and then a year go by, you ain't hear nothing back. And then you ask them again, hey man, what's up with, am I going to get that promotion? I know you wanted this role, but how about this one? A word, and that's when it changes. That's when you see the thing on the ground. They ain't going to be me picking that up, bro. They don't pay me for that. That's when them bathroom breaks start getting a little longer. That's when you start stretching out them lunch breaks to the last possible minute. Somebody checked out when they take their lunch break in their car. Like, like that's how you know somebody's sick of their job, is when they start taking their lunch breaks in the car. Like, I don't even want to be associated with anybody for these 30 minutes while I'm on break. I'm in my car. You know what I mean? When I get back in, I'm going to do what's asked of me. But while I'm not clocked in, brother, I'm not doing anything. Don't ask me for anything. You know what I mean? And that's where Lamar Jackson is right now. If the Baltimore Ravens were a regular job, he'd be taking his lunch break in the car. He feels disrespected at the end of the day. And this is what GMs, and we moved into this whole analytical wave with all of these Ivy League guys, and I think that's a good thing for the sport on some levels. But the part of this that I feel like people have forgotten is that this is a people business at the end of the day, and you have to manage relationships with people. And what Eric DeCosta has failed at for the Baltimore Ravens is realizing that this is a people business, and that not giving Lamar Jackson his money didn't mean that you were just going to get Lamar playing hard because he was on the last year of his deal. It meant that you disrespected the most important player on your team. And when you disrespect a player, they're not going to work as hard. And that's not normally a problem when it's a running back, when it's a wide receiver, when it's a cornerback or something. When it's your quarterback that decides to check out, oh, that's going to trickle down to everywhere. Because if Lamar ain't in this, and everybody knows that this whole thing kind of hinges on Lamar's ability to be great, how much do you think these dudes actually believe they're going to be a good team? If they don't think that the dude they need to be great is really committed to being great because he feels disrespected by the team. And then now some of those players are going to be mad at the team. All of that, avoiding all of that is worth the money that Lamar Jackson was asking for. This is why you pay quarterbacks, especially when they're quarterbacks that you want to keep. If this were Baker Mayfield or Andy Dalton or whatever kind of mediocre quarterback it is, sure, don't pay them. Nobody cares. You don't believe your ability to win or lose hinges on them being healthy. But with Lamar Jackson, that's absolutely the case, and you absolutely messed up if you're the Baltimore Ravens. And I don't think the Ravens have gotten enough flack for this nationally. If this were another team that had a lesser reputation, they would be getting murdered right now for how they're handling this situation. But Baltimore has a good enough reputation where they're kind of skating by, and this is a colossal fumble. A colossal fumble. Unless they get this thing done somehow before the end of the year, this is a fumble. But that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below.